and we're back with My Raisins 1. Man, I love My Raisins 1. My Raisins 1, keep watching my videos and keep leaving comments because I love the conversations that are born out of the comments that you leave. Okay, I made a video called MyHeritage DNA Test Results. Do Puerto Ricans identify as white? I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm asking as a third party. I've seen some of the comments and there seems to be confusion on whether Puerto Ricans identify as white, knowing that they've got a lot of Puerto Ricans have African DNA. So that's why I was asking. All right, here was the response. Quote, generally, people identify as whatever is convenient to them. With family at home, they are Puerto Rican. If they can pass as white by phenotype, they identify as white. No one willingly identifies as any ethnic minority, especially black, unless, of course, it can be used for a specific benefit. If asked directly, most will just say Puerto Rican. I have met many Puerto Ricans who have never been to Puerto Rico, nor do they speak the language. End quote. So here's what I love about this. The opening line says it all. Generally, people identify as whatever is convenient to them. End quote. I want to talk about that. I want to turn that on myself and think, okay, so how do I do that? If that's true, how do I do that? And here's my answer. And I think my American response is going to reflect how a lot of Americans do. Maybe they don't realize that they think this way, but this is how a lot of Americans do. So imagine this. Modern day America, 2018. We're very aware of our shameful history. We're very aware that in theory, just as many people lived in all of the Americas as lived in Europe before the Europeans got here. We're aware that the Europeans did some bad things when they came to America and discovered America, right? And we're also aware, it wasn't that long ago, that there was still segregation going on versus black people in America. It's troubling, it's sad, and we don't like it. We want to remove ourselves from it. We want to respect the fact that we need to remember history so it doesn't repeat itself, but at the same time, like modern day America, we're better than that. That's awful, the things that happen in America. And there's national monuments, there's state monuments, there's city monuments that still celebrate. In my hometown, there's a statue of a Confederate soldier, like praising him as some kind of Christian hero, fighting for the Confederates. What? Okay? So here's my point. For me, as a guy who appears to be white of somewhat Southern European descent, which is true, see, I have to admit, and I'm being honest and vulnerable with you right now, as far as it being convenient for me, I am very quick to tell you that I'm over 20% Native American via Mexico, because my heart goes out to all those people who lived there for all that time, and then the Spanish came in, and the Europeans came in. Like, they were already doing their own thing. America was already here. So it makes me feel less bad about my existence as an American, knowing that part of me was the true American that was already here. Granted, about a third of me is Spanish Iberian, so also part of me is the part that came over and messed all that up and you know, long ago. It's troubling. And I think for many Americans, we want to identify, if nothing else, to say that we're something beyond European. Because a lot of times, European has a negative context to it, knowing that how they discovered the world. And they turned people into victims. And they brought over the slaves. So I think, speaking very vulnerably, honestly, and maybe politically incorrect here, but I think it's not that I'm ashamed to be white. I'm not ashamed to be what I am. But I'm saying that for a lot of white Americans, if they were really honest with themselves, they secretly, or maybe not even secretly, want to identify as something other than European. It's not that the European part's a problem, but they want to be something else. To feel better about themselves, to think, okay, so my ancestors weren't complete just pirates and rapists and killed, murderers. Part of my ancestry was the innocent people. I think there's a lot of that happens. And even today, like if you're African American, I mean, now that's almost a better thing because now you're more ethnically diverse. Or if you're Indian, via India, or if you're Asian, if you're mixed as an American, if you're ethnically mixed, it's almost a status symbol to say, look, all of my ancestors weren't to blame for how America originally was discovered and how the slaves come over. I think that if we were really honest as Americans, that's sort of the allure, to be something beyond just 100% European, because it makes us feel less guilty about the shameful things in America's history. That's my honest response. I predict I will get 17 dislikes on this video and 5 angry comments. But this is how I feel. And this is how I think a lot of Americans feel. And that's why I think so many people, when they take DNA tests, their whole life they think that they're part Native American. They've been told that their great-grandmother was half Cherokee. And then they take the test and they find out, zip, nada. You know? Because they had held on to that hope that their ancestors weren't 100% of the problem. And then they think, oh man, I'm disappointed. I'm just European. This is an American situation. And if you're not American, maybe you won't be able to relate to what I'm saying. But is there anyone out there watching this video who would agree with me and say, oh Nick, wow, you actually make a really good point. I never thought about that. Because remember, this is a thing. People want to, in America, they want to be at least part Native American. There's a reason psychologically, because they don't want to think that all of their ancestors were part of the problem as far as the cruel things that happen, as far as people who were already here before America was discovered, and anything to do with the slave trade. We want to think that our ancestors weren't completely tied to that we have ancestors that were tied, if nothing else, the victims of those things that happen. What do you think? Comments. I would love to hear, especially, does anybody actually agree with me? I'm expecting angry comments. Does anyone actually agree with me?